You hear this in our society all the time. Woe is me! Woe is me! I can't get a good job unless I have a college degree, and I can't afford to go to college. I was kind of the same way. I made all the same mistakes a lot of teenagers make. I got out of high school and I got my first job. It was a construction job. I was working about 45 or 50 hours a week. I would get home. I was so tired that all I felt like doing was watching TV and eating because construction is hard work. Now, on the other hand, I was making 5.50 an hour at a time when minimum wage was 3.35 an hour. And the guys I knew who had been working there a little bit, they were making $7, $8 an hour. So the money was pretty good. That might not sound like a lot to you now, but that's probably comparable to $15 to $20 an hour today in 2021. But I found myself working for nothing but my car. I had a new car. I don't know why I thought I had to have a new car. I was only 18. What do 18-year-olds need a new car for? You're just going to probably get in a crazy accident with it. I was paying for my insurance. Insurance is really expensive, especially if you're a guy and you're 18 years old and you're single. And so it just seemed like I was working for my car and my insurance. Yes, I was taking one or two college classes, but I wasn't seeming to progress very far. And I wish I knew this information that I'm going to give you today on how to pay for college. So I joined the military, and it took me 10 years to finish my bachelor's degree. But the nice thing was that all the tuition was free. I might have had to pay for my books or maybe 10% of the tuition. I don't remember, but it was mostly free. And in 10 years, I finished my bachelor's degree. But they have even a better program that I wasn't smart enough to take advantage of either. You can join the military and they will give you a college fund. At the time I was in, you had to pay $100 a month into it for 1 year, and then you got back quite a bit of money. So the amounts may have changed, but you can get $72,000 for college by doing 4 years in the military. And in that 4 years in the military, you can complete 2 years of school if you really bust your butt and work on it. It's very possible to be able to do that. So I wish I would have done that a little bit more, but I had gotten married and I was a newly married person, and about 13 months after that, my first child came along, and I don't have any regrets about any of that. So my life was a little bit different. This is for people who are saying, I want to go to college and I don't know how to pay for it. So 72,000 would go quite a long ways towards a college education. And especially if you already have 2 years completed, and let's say you just complete 1 year in that time, you're going to be way ahead of your peers, because I learned so much during my 10 years in the Army. I learned more than I have with any of my college degrees. Let's talk about some of the things you can do in the Army or in the military. It's not all about just shooting people. I was in the band. I loved being in the band. I got to practice my instrument and perform my instrument, and that was my job and what I got paid to do. And yes, I had to practice being a soldier also, but 80% of my time was spent with the band. But there are like literally hundreds of jobs in the military. You could be a cook, you could be an admin assistant, or work in finance. You could be a driver. You can drive a tank. In the Air Force, you learn a lot of technical things dealing with computers and technology and all kinds of things like that. And yes, if you really want to, you can learn how to better shoot people. Whatever you like to do, there's probably a comparable job in the military for that. We're going to look at a couple of examples, and this is for my area of the country, which is Colorado Springs, Colorado. The costs and the income are going to be different wherever you are, but these just kind of give you some basics of what can work in your area. Example number one, let's say you're an 18-year-old student living at home with your parents. Now, I had always told my kids that as long as they were going to school, they could live at home for free. There was not going to be any charge for them for rent. They could eat all the food that they wanted. We would even figure out ways to get them to school if they needed a ride. And so out of our 4 kids, they took advantage of that in four totally different ways. Every kid is different. Some of them didn't want to go to college. That's okay. Some of them wanted to go live at a college that was farther away. But we have a nice university here in our town. We've got Pikes Peak Community College. In fact, you would want to probably think about doing community college before you did anything else. The local community college here, remember we're talking about example number 1. You're an 18-year-old student living at home with your parents. The tuition at Pikes Peak Community College here in town is $3,736 a year. That is cheap. That is easy to earn that amount of money. Books and other fees, you can probably bring this down by buying used, but usually college textbooks are very expensive. But I'm just going to say about $1,800. And remember, you can probably bring that down. So the total to go to your first year of college in Colorado Springs is $5,536. Let's suppose that you work for 40 hours a week and the minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. Now, actually, here in Colorado, our minimum wage is higher, but I just want to use an example that's going to apply to anybody across the country. So $7.25 an hour, you'll earn approximately $15,000 a year. And that's going to be more than enough to pay for college and to have plenty to get around, plus some extra for fun. $15,000 a year that you're earning. Your parents are being kind and letting you live there for free, so you better do the dishes and mow the grass for them. You're paying $37.36 for tuition, and you're paying $1,800 for books. That leaves you with $9,000 for extra. Let's take a look at example number 2. Maybe you don't have the privilege of being able to live with your parents. Maybe they kicked you out. Maybe you don't have parents. There are all kinds of reasons, but it can still be attainable for you. So example number 2 is an 18-year-old student living on their own. Tuition at Pikes Peak Community College is the same amount, $3,736. Books and other fees, you can probably bring this down, is $1,800. Renting a room in someone's basement where you just have one bedroom and maybe a shared bath and maybe you have privileges around the house, we're going to say $500 a month, so about $6,000 a year. And I bet you if you search hard enough, you can find someone who would rent out a room for that amount. Food is going to be about $3,600 a year, about $300 a month. A lot of you are going to say, there's no way that I can eat off of $300 a month. You know what? You're right if you're talking about going out to eat at a restaurant, even a fast food restaurant. McDonald's these days is $8 or $10 for a burger and some fries and a drink. You can put a sandwich together for about $1 or $1.50. You can eat lots of ramen and eat lots of mac and cheese, and you're going to avoid the Starbucks for now. Make your own coffee. Get someone to get a used Keurig and make your own coffee, but you can even make it cheaper than Keurig. Those little things are really expensive. So if you consider this tuition cost, the books cost, renting a room in someone's basement, and the food, now you're talking about a total cost of about $15,136. As you can see, that's about what you would earn if you're working 40 hours a week at a minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. Most of you can probably earn more than that, especially in this day and age in 2021 where there are so many shortages of workers. Now, you're probably going to need to live somewhere close to the college and you won't really have any extra money. However, what if you took another part-time job during the weeks when you don't have school, like in the summer, during Christmas break, during Thanksgiving break? Most schools, you end up having 2 months off in the summer. You have a month off for Thanksgiving and Christmas combined. Some just take a week at Thanksgiving and then come back for a few weeks and then have a month off. But you have a lot of extra time off. If you worked just 10 more hours per week on the weeks that you didn't have school. So if you took a second part-time job, then you could make about $1,160 extra a year. And that could help pay for a couple of other items that you might need, like for clothing, because that was a really tight budget that we had set earlier. But also, think about it, it's not for the rest of your life. It's just for this focused time while you're going to school so you can get this completed and move on to some better jobs. And I almost guarantee you're not going to make minimum wage for long. The last time I made minimum wage was when I was 16 years old. Then the next job that I took after that, I got a little bit more than that. And then I told you about the construction job. I was right out of high school and I was making $2.15 more than minimum wage. And that would probably equal to about $5 more than minimum wage now. So your minimum wage is not where you're going to stay. If you are a hard, diligent worker and you're learning, you're going to get beyond that. But, James, this doesn't sound like fun. It's not. It's work. But it's a sacrifice you make over a short period of time. But how can I work 40 hours and do all my assignments? Here's an interesting stat. The average college student spends upwards of 30 hours per week on media, social and otherwise. So like looking at YouTube videos, going on Twitter, going on Facebook, watching movies, watching TV shows. The average college student spends more than 30 hours a week doing that. So you might have to give something up. You might have to give up social media so you can have a full-time job. You know what? You're not going to be missing out on anything. I promise you. So I want to end with telling you a little bit more about my story. You heard the part about me earning my bachelor's degree. It took me 10 years to earn my bachelor's degree, and I'm very glad that I did it. It was worth it to go through that and earn that. After I had been teaching a while, I got out of the Army in 96. I tried my hand for a couple of years at self-employment, but then I decided my true love was teaching music. So in 1998, I started teaching music. And the crazy thing is, I didn't have any music degree. I've never had a music degree until I finished my master's degree at the age of 44, I believe that I was. So as I started teaching, I realized I was missing some in my education because my bachelor's was actually in business administration. And here I was teaching music. I've been in music my entire life. And I decided to go back for a master's degree. Well, I looked and looked and looked. A lot of programs told me, quit your job and come to our school and you can get your master's degree in music and then be back at working in 2 years from now. And I couldn't afford to do that. I had 4 kids still at home, and it was not something that was an option for me to be able to do. Then I saw some other programs that were summer programs that fit great with being a teacher. I could go to school in the summer, not have to worry about it, and then take the classes just when I was not being stressed with work. Some of them wanted $60,000, $80,000 to do, and they were great programs. I'm not dissing the programs. They were wonderful things. I talked to some of the professors that were teaching them. They were great programs, but I would have had to borrow money to complete those. So I kept calling around. I kept sending emails to different places. I kept investigating what different colleges had. And I found a small college. It's called Southwestern Oklahoma State University in Weatherford, Oklahoma. And it's about an 8-hour drive from where I live. But the tuition was $3,000 a year. And you know what? That included my room and board. $3,000 a year. My entire master's degree program cost me $9,000. That is cheap. If you look into master's degree programs, that's cheap. And I told you the others I was looking into would cost $60,000 or $80,000. Now, classes were Monday and Wednesday, so I would drive down to Oklahoma Sunday afternoon and spend Sunday night there, Monday night there, Tuesday night there, and then Wednesday, after my last class, I would drive back home. Now, was that a pain in the butt to do the driving? You bet it was. It was 8 hours each way. I just listened to a lot of podcasts to feed my mind. and listened to a lot of music. And on Tuesdays, I got most of my homework done. That I didn't have classes on Tuesdays, but I was still there in Oklahoma, and I got most of my homework done. So then when I got home Wednesday night, I didn't have to worry about that. Immediately, so I spent $3,000 that first summer, and immediately I got a $3,000 raise in my job for the college credits that I got that year. So that first summer paid for itself within 1 year. And then once I finished the master's degree completely, I got another $2,000 raise. So the master's degree gave me a $5,000 raise forever for the rest of the time that I'm teaching, and it cost me $9,000 total. That, my friends, is a bargain and was well worth it. But if I had had to borrow $60,000 or $80,000, I would still be behind on that, even if I had put all of my raises to paying off the loan that I had acquired. I would still be owing some money on that. So I hope that this has helped you to figure out what you need to do to be able to pay for college with cash or with very minimal borrowing, and just open your eyes to the possibilities of that.